This Celebrity Podcast is all unofficial. None of the conversations or comments from us or guests represents DOD or the armed forces.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you all are, but happy Self-Care Sunday. So today it'll be myself and my co-parent, Tony D. Player, as we navigate a segment that we always wanted to do, and we will eventually break into other sessions and bring on other guests. But we want to talk about the importance of co-parenting after divorce. And today you really don't have a disclaimer. So we will talk a little bit about Air Force stuff, but only because we will both do a military, but not really. So we'll rely on Pete, who's in the background, and we hope that Dale is enjoying his time with his beautiful wife and his baby. And DC, we do want to give a shout out to DC and his beautiful bride, Wendy, as they celebrate over 30 years of marriage. We think that is very important, and he's doing the right thing by taking his time away. As y'all saw last week or 2 weeks ago in the corner, you know, he was advertising his clothes for us of what he was going to take on his vacation. So we pray that they're out having a great time. And Pete was out golfing this morning, but he's on the back scenes, helping us navigate this segment. So one of the things, Tony, I would like you to introduce yourself if you don't mind.
I mean, everybody knows who I am already. You just did it. I'm the other co-parent. You know, the better half over here, y'all, right now. Tony Player.
Background, please. Where are you from? How many years did you do in the military?
All right. Well, I'm originally from Benton, Louisiana. For anybody that doesn't know, it's about 10 minutes from Barksdale Air Force Base, Shreveport area. Was in the military 15 years. Did the early out program when I was in Japan back in 2014. Now I'm stuck in Alabama right now, Montgomery.
Don't say stuck. You decided. You made a choice.
Yeah, you're right. Best choice.
And what do you do now, Tony?
I am now working for the VA. So, you know, I'm enjoying it. You know, I'm really enjoying it. You know, I'm taking care of my own, as you could say. So, yeah, if you need something, hit me up. I got you.
All right, y'all. What up, Dunn? We have the Dunn family representing this morning. So obviously you all know me. I am Jessica D. Nice Player. I just retired after 21 years of service. And Tony and I, so in order for us to set the foundation of this segment, we want to give you a little background. So Tony and I met in 2006. I was assigned to Korea, Osan Air Base in the Logistics Readiness Squadron. So I replaced another admin that was embedded in the flight. So I was actually in the flight of vehicle operations at that time. My sponsor was a combination of two individuals. I had the admin as my sponsor, and then I had another vehicle operator as my sponsor. So once I told those individuals, like my follow-on, because I had my follow-on before I went to Korea, was Barksdale Air Force Base. They were like, look, you have the perfect person to talk to. He just came in from Barksdale and he's actually serving here in our unit. And I was like, okay, cool. So I get to meet somebody that has the same follow-on as me. And at the time I did have Jameria. So I was a single mother away from my daughter, preparing to make that transition to bring her back with me when I did make it to Barksdale. I think my report no later than date to Barksdale was May 2009. And you reported to Barksdale, what, December?
December 2006.
Okay. So upon the meeting, so I finally get to work. I'm doing my in processing and I meet Tony. And this is my version. You can clear up your version if you would like. So I meet Tony. I'm being introduced to everyone. Obviously, it's an all-male shop. I think one of the females that was there, she was a tech sergeant, NCOIC type. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm about to be in here with all these guys. And then I did meet Tony. And then it was an awkward, like, interaction at first because he called me stuck up, and all I was trying to do was like, oh my God, I heard so much about you. I heard that you had came from Barksdale. I have a follow on to Barksdale, and I just wanted to know if we could talk. Lord and behold, Tony lets me know, like, I have a girlfriend. I don't want no problems, but I'll help you out here and there. So as we start to build our friendship, I come to learn that Tony was a real player. And even though, hold on, this is my version. Like, you tell your version.
Last name.
Yeah, you're right. It was his last name. So like we stayed in the same dorm. We had this day room. So we would all get together and cook. And there was a few of us. So some of the girls that I had got there, and it just so happened we were all LRS, all in logistics readiness. And Tony and I became so cool that some of the girls that he was messing with started coming to me, and they were like, well, that's my man. Like, that's my man. And, you know, he has a girlfriend back in the state. And I was like, yeah, he told me about it. I was like, look, believe me, that's not my dude. I be helping him out when it comes to his girlfriend. Like, that's my homeboy. So then Tony helped me took out my braids once when we were over there. And then Tony was like, girl, so come on now. You know that's your homeboy, a homegirl, when they start out their story like that. He was like, girl, guess what happened? I came out and checked my bike. This girl to kick my bike in. And I was like, I told you to stop messing with all these females. But that is the premise of our relationship when we talk about being able to be friends, or like we come to learn like who you reproduce with is very important, because not just when that person whenever your child turns 18 or 19 and is out the door, like you're forever tied with this person that you have kids with. Right. But that's my version of the story. That is why Tony, I still rely on him as a best friend. He has been, a sounding voice. I like to call Tony the quiet storm. And for me, he calls me you got to get out. What you called me before? He told me one time that I was a little
pistol starter.
So I'm just like, oh, okay. I just don't like to leave things unfinished. All right. So what is your version, Tony?
I mean,
hey, sis.
Really can't say much more. I mean, she kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, I wasn't player like she's talking about. I had.
I don't know. Don just said pretty Tony is what they called him. That's about right.
I had a couple of friends, but for the most part, I mean, yeah, we had a good time there. The friendship is, like she said, is what mattered most. I mean, we could tell each other anything. We could talk about anything. And it wasn't it wasn't the relationship type thing. It wasn't girlfriend, boyfriend stuff. It was like best friend type things. I mean, we could sleep in the same room, be fine. All of that stuff. It was nice. You know, and for now, man, you know, it's different for other people there, but it wasn't different for us. You know, we were cool. We became close. Yes, we became really close while we were there, and things started to take different shapes, different places. So yeah, I had a girlfriend while I was there. I had a girlfriend while I was there. Went home on my mid-tour, and you know, we were having issues going back and forth with stuff, and so I just kind of broke it off, went back. It wasn't immediate that me and Jessica finally got together or whatever, but it took some time, took a few months, and it gradually got to that point where, you know what, I could see myself with this person. I can see myself living life with this person. And it went from there. And that's how we came to be when it came to the marriage and the kids and, you know, yeah.
So then you're wondering, like, how did we get here? So we got here by virtue of we were young, and we always talk about that. We were young and we got together, and the pressure of trying to be what other people told us to be for other people is what really played a part in our growing up and then going separate ways per se. So when people talk about, you know, neither one of you cheated, no, we didn't cheat, because that was something that we had talked about previously. It's like, hey, I have such high regard for you. I respect you. And I think that that is something that I could come to you and talk to you about if we're messing up. So we ended up like coming to this wall, I think when we first got back from Japan.
Yeah.
So like in 2016, and it just felt like the world was coming on both of us, like just trying to reacclimate back to the States, trying to give to both of our families and, you know, wearing ourselves thin. One of the things that we have always said is like, man, like now we're in a capacity with, like, we look back, we were like, yo, we weren't good for ourselves to be good for each other. Right. And I used to, Tony tell me that I should have been a lawyer because I don't like to give up. It's not that I don't like to give up. I call it conversational sparring.
She likes to do that.
But that is one of the tips or tricks to co-parenting. Like, right, you have to have effective communication. True. And we learned it after the fact. So back then we didn't have effective communication. I think we were both scared to actually give our raw emotions to each other and let each other know, like, look, I'm not happy. I think that also maturing and letting him know, like, yo, you're not responsible for my happiness. And I need you to understand, can I add value? But too, like I always told you, like, I feel that I didn't know and I wasn't mature enough to offer you a vulnerable space. And I am appreciative, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, one thing that I did pride you on is not emasculating you. I felt that you were unique in your own right. You were just a teddy bear. You tried to take care of everybody else. And sometimes I'm like, yo, I'm still over here.
Right.
But
yeah.
What can you add?
Yeah, I mean, like she said, you know, when you do get married, there's no playbook. You know, there's no playbook for anything. So, you know, during our marriage, there was one thing for me, mental health. You know, I had issues. I mean, being in the desert, going to Iraq, having PTSD, stuff like that. I honestly came back, and the emotion for me, the communication, it was there, but it was hard to do for me. You know, I became emotionless when I was deployed. You know, if you had a lot of emotion during your deployment, a lot of you been deployed, you know, dealt with that back in the day when Iraq got started. Emotion hurt you over there. You know, emotion made you do stuff you really didn't want to do. So you had to become emotionless. You know, you had to take away some of that emotion in order to get through what you needed to get through. So when I came back, it was hard to get the emotion back. I became emotionless. So that bled into me and Jessica together. It bled into the marriage. She used to tell me, you know, you just seem like you have no emotion. You don't respond to a lot of stuff and this and that. And when it came to communication was rough. I tried to communicate. It got better over the years, but at the same time, it didn't. My communication was like, okay, what can I do better for her? It wasn't Tony. She would talk to me. She would tell me what I could do, what I needed to do. But it was me listening and not hearing her. You know, I would listen and I would try to do what I wanted to do for her to make her feel better, not what she needed me to do for her. So a lot of stuff that took place, and I think I learned a lot. You know, I learned a lot. When we split, when we divorced, I learned even more. You know, more about myself, more about my flaws. I mean, yes, we both had our faults in the marriage, but the flaws, you have to be, I would say, willing to how they say, do the work, to look within, to realize the flaws that you have and where you need to work. And I think getting divorced, it hit me hard, you know, hit me real hard. But at the same time, I also had these 4 angels, I would say, you know, that I looked at every day, and they, you know, I had to muster up that strength to be like, okay, this happened. I need to do what I need to do. You know, I need to do the work. And while I was doing the work, while I was going through it, you know, I realized a lot about myself, you know, my flaws, my faults.
So, Tony, you have a question.
Oh, what?
How do you coordinate with your extended family to ensure a supportive and cohesive environment for your children?
When it comes to extended family, I would say we're in Alabama. So our extended family, it's not that many people. Who we have, Jessica? Like Wendy.
Yeah, Wendy and Charles.
Stuff like that. So coordinating, I mean, it's pretty easy because they know us. You know, they know how we operate. You know, that we've talked, you know what I'm saying? They understand how we all operate. So when we call, they know, okay, they calling, so they need us, you know. So it's not it's not hard to you know, that cooperation, coordinating with our extended family. It's not hard at all. You know, the ones we have, it's like they know the assignment. When we call, we really need something because we don't do it much. We don't do it often.
Or I'll say this before we jump to the next question. When we talk about extended family, I can attest, like when Tony lost his father, and it was January 2019. So when he lost his dad, that was a part of, like, you know, I saw him, and, you know, people don't know, but we were getting ready to go through our divorce. And to, you know, for him to lose such an influential person in his life, and I was watching him grieve. One of the things that we both talked about that was so important is his ability to grieve with his sons, because we wanted our boys to make sure, you know, we both know we have to live, but we both wanted the kids know, like, look, it's okay, especially as a male, to be in that raw space. Like, you just lost your dad. This person was very important to you. They are pivotal into who you are as a male. And I think that was that supportive piece. So, like, regardless, married or not, Thanksgiving was always in Louisiana because his folks would keep up a spread. So we still have that tradition. We still have that tradition, like, regardless. We went, or the kids go to Louisiana to maintain that tradition with them. And collectively, Christmas has always been our time where we spent, like, time with the kids, because we got to this mode to where, yes, I'm a practicing Muslim, he is Christian, but regardless, we wanted our kids to understand the importance of spirituality and then allow them to choose when they're older, kind of like we both talk about right now with Jamiria, her walk with God. Like she has this study Bible. And it's so crazy. Like she'll want to also read the Quran with me sometimes, but we love the fact that we're allowing our kids to exercise like who they are, and we kind of like bring them back in line when we feel like they veered too far away. But that goes back to the extended family because they don't understand the way that we raise them, but they be like, you know, they're great kids. And that's our biggest point, is just trying to make sure like you support what we're doing. Don't try to interfere and deflect by telling us, well, y'all weren't raised like that. It's not that we weren't. What we were raised with wasn't right. It was just effective for you all back then, but we find this to be more effective for our kids right now.
Right.
One other question that popped up, Tony. Jessica and Tony, you guys are a unicorn concerning co-parent. Why do you feel other formerly married couples can't get it right? Do you think it's ego, hurt, or both? Would you like to go first, or you want me to go first?
Just ain't right here.
Okay, I think, and you're right, the unicorn, like I think, and we often talked about this, like when we drew up the papers and we were going through it, I felt like I had already grieved the marriage, whereas Tony was still grieving the dissolve of the marriage. So it was like two different eras of healing going on at that time. And one of the things that I do respect about him now that he tells me after the fact is that he went to counseling because he felt like he couldn't pull himself out of whatever he was experiencing. But I think co-parenting exists when you got to remove the intimacy. And that's the most important piece, because like I've dated different people, and it seems like when we try to explain our co-parenting relationship to some people, it does insert a level of insecurity because of what you hear, where certain parents divorce and then like
stuff.
They still messing around. But we understand that you can't sit up here and think that you have access to this person from an intimacy level. We look at it as, hey, what are we doing that is in the best interest of our kids?
Yeah. You have to.
I can't be spiteful that, number one, that he's dating. I can't be spiteful that, guess what? He may find someone that is 10 times better as me. That is not my role as his co-parent. My role is, though, because we've talked about this, whoever we're dating, is this person added value for our kids? Right. And I think that's where we both have to understand, like, don't insert the personal feelings that are individual into decision making that comes over with our kids, because bottom line, he has his life, I have my life, but together, everything we do, we need to think about the impact and the intent that it's going to have on our kids. And we've had that question before when some people be like, well, his intentions may have been good. Intentions are one thing, but you got to think about we both say, we both served in the military. We better get this right because we've been taught to think second and third order effects. So that's the biggest thing. We do think about, hey, is this added value for our family? And even, can I give the example of what happened the other day? I asked you to go pick up an order.
Give it, girl, go with it.
So the kids so we have a house in Alabama, they have a house, and then I moved to Georgia, but the kids love wildflowers. So what I did, and thank you to whoever gave me the Bath and Body Works gift card for my retirement, but the kids wanted some wildflowers for the house. And I know I did it right before I went on a cruise. And I was like, hey, I sent him and Mimi the email saying, hey, the Bath and Body Works order for the kids for the wildflowers is ready. Let the email go by next day. And then 2 days later, I get the email saying some or all of your order has been canceled. So then I was like, yo, Pimpin', you said that you had it. Like, I said, Tony, where's the order? He gonna call me the morning up and be like, with the kids, the kids dressed, they all in the car. He was like, I'm going to pick up the order from Bath and Body Works. I was like, punk, Like, it's gone. Like, they put this shit back on the shelf. Like, you ain't going to pick up nothing. Because I said, you must be going to pick up Casper. Because you ain't coming back with nothing from Bath and Body Works.
I don't understand how Bath and Body Works cancel an order that you paid for that came to the store. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But okay. But I mean, back to the priority when it comes to the kids. I feel that when it comes to relationship, when it comes to co-parenting, I feel that when you divorce, when you split, it depends on how it happened. You know, depends on the situation for everybody. But for the most part, I think we have to, when we feel pain, we usually become selfish. You know, we feel our pain, we have to deal with our pain, we have to deal with our suffering. But when you co-parenting, you have kids and you go through something and you feel pain, you have to choose. You have to choose either your pain or your peace. Because that peace involves your children. That peace involves the role you play in their life. So when you experience that pain, for myself, I would say, yes, I experienced the pain of divorce and stuff like that. But you have to ask yourself, if you dwell on that pain, who will suffer more? Who will experience the most pain? Your children. So your priority out the gate as a co-parent is those children, their happiness, what they see, what they experience. So if we're co-parenting and we have issues, or if we're basing our co-parenting off of pain, we're going through it, for instance, our kids are going to see it. They're going to experience it. Even if we're trying to keep it from them, kids can sense everything. Believe it or not, they can. So with us, our co-parenting, it's organic. I mean, it's no trying. There's no trying. It has to be organic. If it's not organic, kids are going to sense it, y'all. Kids are going to experience it. They're going to be like, okay, this don't even look right. Our kids, oh my God.
Remember, I think we went almost 2 years without telling them that we were divorced. And it was the older two that came in and was like, we need to talk to y'all. And then they were like, do y'all have something to tell us? And we're like, no. And then they were like, we heard that y'all are divorced. And we were like, yeah, we are. And then Ty proceeds to say, he was like, well, you know what? I picked up on something because y'all don't kiss or hug like y'all used to. And I'm just like, oh my God, like stay out of grown folks' business. Yeah. But it was a realization to us that, you know, we both decided, we were like, look, our kids are doing good in school. They are in their sports. So we thought that was keeping their attention away from what we were going through. But it was so heartwarming when we were able to bring everyone in and we were having dialogue, like we were talking about it. Because we're quick to tell them, like, look, this is a monologue. When we're talking to them, like, we speak, you be quiet. But we were actually having great dialogue with them to understand that you can always have love for someone without being in love with them. And I think that was the biggest takeaway for us.
We chose peace for our kids.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, no looking back after that. Like I said, that pain and that peace, you have to choose. And if you choose peace, you got to let go of all the pain and hurt that you had, that you took in from the divorce. I mean, 13 married, 16 knowing each other. So you have that person that's known you for 13 some odd years, and they know you more or better than most people, period. Even your own, immediate family. So you're willing to just get a divorce and get hurt, be hurt, and experience that pain for the rest of your life? Or would you choose peace with your children, with that person that knows you, that you can relate to, and you work that thing out,
So Aisha, hey girl, she said, what advice can you, with provide. She said, what can you provide for those who are unhappy in unhappy marriages? Personally, staying engaged with my own life and my child helped me cope. However, when my marriage was further strained by an infidelity that resulted in another child, it clarified my decision to seek a divorce, as fundamental reasons for maintaining a single family had been undermined. You know, Tony and I both come from families that are still married. And I think that was the biggest thing that was like looming over us, is like, yo, we come from 2-parent households. We don't want our kids to not have a 2-parent household. And when you're unhappy, so that was the biggest thing for us. We used to always say that, like, what can I do for you? But at the end, we didn't understand both. Like, I went to counseling, he went to counseling. We didn't understand, like, I can't place all that weight on him by being unhealthy. But what are the things that we're willing to collaborate on? Because I would always come back to him sometimes without giving him the full details of my counseling session and be like, look, I'm being told, like, over here with a counselor, that I don't have to deal with this. Like, I don't have to take this. And then I'll never forget, Tony used to always tell me, it was like, girl, you better learn how to compromise. And I'm just like, I literally had to tell him one day, I was like, look, I don't know who I am anymore. Like, I've lost, like, who I am at my core. And he didn't want to admit it, but he ended up eventually telling me he felt the same way. So it's like, you have literally lost who you are. I have lost who I am, because I used to always tell him, I was like, look, where you're trying to go, I don't want to go. And we used to always reflect back on the military. Like, I used to always tell Tony, like, man, what are you doing? And I don't know how many people can, relate, but I remember when we were both, we had made it to Japan. Mm-hmm. And then at first we thought we didn't want any kids. And then we ended up getting pregnant with twins. And I think that ignited fire in us again, because we were comfortable with 2 kids. But when we had the mere fact that, oh my God, like, we're pregnant with twins, it was important for us because his mom was a twin. So we were like, oh my goodness, we get to have this in the family. And then he also got on that list for the involuntary separation, because he had an Article 15 from dry ass Dias back in the day. I mean, we both out now, okay? But you know what? That'll bring up a good point for later.
No, we ain't talking about nothing.
Okay, but he was like, look, I don't want to take my chances on this list. And he had actually went up from master and missed master by like 3 points that year. Yeah, that was his problem, y'all. He never studied. So, here I am, 6 months to a year studying. But like, that joker would go study for promotion tests and would be like, yeah, I did good. And I'd be like, hey, what was your scores? And I would get so pissed off, because I'm just like, yo, I'm sitting over here doing my best, like scoring in the 80s, in the high 90s, and still ain't making it. And this joker opened up the book probably 2 to 3 days before the test and go in there and do a great job. But we're not going to talk about that. So at that time, we did end up losing the twins, and we both felt that it put a strain on our marriage for real, because I just felt empty. I felt that I didn't do a good job of doing what, subconsciously I was telling myself, like, yo, like, God put me on earth to be a vessel to give kids. And I felt like I had failed in that aspect.
And I felt like when that happened, I felt like, I felt empty as well. And I felt like I couldn't support her enough. I felt like, okay, this is my fault. I'm not being there enough for her. And then we tried to conversate, but you couldn't really say anything. It was rough. It was rough. There was nothing you could say or do that could fix anything. And it took time.
So it took time, and then we found out that we were pregnant again with Taraji. So that was the meekness of our relationship, because I was still nervous and scared. I'm like, I don't know, like, what this looks like. And then he was always supportive.
I had to cross my T's and dot my I's. In that instance, I had to get it right.
So we ended up, fast forward, we ended up having 4 more kids. But when it was time, before he got out, he ended up deciding like, hey, I want to be a stay-at-home dad. And I was like, okay. Because I used to always tell him like, yo, and I'm gonna give you your flex right now. So Tony got out with nothing. No CCAF, no certification, no nothing. And in 2014, when we had Taraji, and then I found out I was pregnant again, like into the pregnancy with J. Cole, he had 2 babies at home in diapers, but that joker used to be on that video game. So the plan was like, I go to work as an instructor all day.
Too, yeah. I'm sorry. I had to cut back.
I go to work, and then at night, I was responsible for the babies. But that joker, like, we'll all have dinner as a family, but he'll be down there on that video game, fall asleep on the sofa on the video game. And that was one of the things I was like, oh my God, I'm so done with you. Like, I can't, like, he would fall asleep just anywhere because he would stay up all night on that video game talking about that was his time.
It was actually a coping mechanism that, didn't end well, but yeah, it was coping. It wasn't a good cope, but,
Yeah, it was bad. So when we got back to the States, and it was eye-opening because he's like, I'm a vet. Like, why can't I find a good job? And I was like, look, people, baby, the TV was too. But when he sat down and had a conversation, he was like, yo, I thought that my military experience was going to be enough, and it wasn't. So I say that, and I will always congratulate you on that end, because we've always been people that were like, we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to be about it. And he went, got an associate's, a bachelor's, and his master's in 5 years. And I'm like, I'm proud of you for that aspect, because years while we was in a marriage, we recall, I'll never forget when you used to be like, you good at school. Ain't no damn Albert Einstein. You can. I'm just like, yo, jerk. I'm thinking like, this is us. Like, this is trying to build our foundation for our kids.
Right.
And yeah, I used to want to fight you them nights when you used to be like, I don't want that. You good. But to see that you were able to do all of that in 5 years, and now you have a great job, I think you did it.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that. You got to congratulate each other.
So Dana said, I think it's lovely that you two sat down with the children as a team of village, but do you think do your kids ever wonder if you two will get back together? They used to. And they used to think about it, and we will be lying if we didn't say we did try. So after we got a divorce, we did try to get back together. And I think it was more so pressure from our family, because our family would constantly be like, y'all have such a beautiful family. Why are y'all not together? Like, y'all need to make it work. And we're just like, when we were in that era and we tried to do that, old issues started to resurface, and we didn't give each other like a clean slate. So we both understand that, like, look, it's not meant, and it's okay. As long as we're okay, we had to learn how to stop listening to our family members as well.
That goes back to that pain aspect. If you're gonna try, when you divorce, you're gonna try to do it again, you have to let go. You can't hold on to that past pain, because it's going to interfere with what you're trying to do now or in the present. And even if you don't try again, you still need to let go of that past pain if you're going to co-parent cohesively. You have to.
And then I do like this question from Dana. He said, curious. Have you had a time where you or Tony was in a relationship and the person you were dating was too jealous and demanded you disconnect from your co-parenting partner?
I haven't had many relationships. Tony is working on himself right now. So relationships, I tried. I tried to have relationships. They wouldn't. I would say, they were strained when I let the person know, hey, this is the way it is. Our co-parenting relationship is amazing. We have good cohesiveness. And that it's non-traditional. Anything that's not traditional, that stuns many people. You know, if it's in the traditional sense, okay, this is how it's working. But if it's non-traditional, people get nervous and they're like, I don't understand this. I don't like that. And I don't like this. But you don't know. You don't understand. You don't see it. So, I mean, in that non-traditional aspect, people kind of they shy away from it. But at the same time, we can't shy away from that, because I mean it's gonna hinder. It's not gonna hinder us. I mean, the other person just gonna miss out if they're trying to keep it traditional, and we're outside the box thinkers. Most of us are. I mean, a lot of people, when you leave the military or when you're in the military, thinking outside the box is normal. You have to. You have a choice. But when it comes to the dating, yeah, I've had my issues, but not, I hadn't dated a whole lot. So, like I said, I'm working on me. I'm trying to be a better me for them, for the babies, you know what I'm saying? So, start businesses and all of this stuff. So, yeah, I'm in that era right now. So it's just me. But let's go to her. Let her talk about her.
So I have dated previous people who were they weren't fond of the idea that I still had a good co-parenting relationship with Tony. And I'll say good co-parenting where, the kids have lived here since I left, and since I went to Keys. So I went to Keesler in 2019. Then I went to Dias in 2021. And then I went to Tyndall in 2022. So we both agreed, and I used to always tell him, I'm like, yo, as a mom, like, I'm not accustomed to this. Like, it's typically the dads who will leave and then come back. But to not have my kids with me, we made a pact when I left. He was like, look, I take videos, I record them every day. That was hard for me. So when I did start dating, and some people I would date, like one that really intrigued me is like this guy, he had never been married, never had any kids, but wanted me to just act like I didn't have my kids and wanted to start a new with him. And I went back and I told Tony, I was like, the dating pool got pee in it. I was like, I don't know what's going on out here, but I said, this is what I was positioned with. And he was like, you need to pull back from that. He was like, you're an amazing person. And he even said, he was like, you're dating, you're a new person, but you have to find like what is for you. He was like, don't allow people to put you in a box. And that's the thing that I loved about our co-parenting. He was like, you've never been a person that is in the box. And I was like, you're right. And as I just moved away from that, I would always say, like, just trying to explain my co-parenting relationships to individuals I was dating, it was always like iffy, because like he said, it's not traditional. 9 times out of 10, like people that I've met, I always think about, like, if you've been married and you have an ex, I want to know like how you treat your ex, like how is your interactions with your ex. And I think those are so important, because we both, and this is the thing, we both are not drama-filled people. What we're not going to do is allow you to come in and insert like a disease into what we have built for our kids. And people are like, well, after a while, for me more so, because I'm dating Alva, people are like, well, you're going to have to choose like which one is first. And I'm just like, really, no man is first. And I always mess with Alva. And I say, I belong to God first. And in my heart, Tony will tell you, like, I'm very spiritual. So I've been praying with, in regards to how does life look like after retirement? Now I'm going to have more time to be invested with our kids, more so where we use schedules. Like, we put everything on a calendar on the Apple phones.
Calendar, reminder.
We overdo it. We print it out because we need to make sure that we're collaborating together, not overlapping issues.
That's why she was so hard on me about Bath and Body Works.
I mean, them kids wanted their wallflowers. Y'all understand when you got big boys who look like men. So I wanted to make sure that they had their stuff. You made me lose my train of thought,
I
Tony,
know.
sit over and mess with you.
Did on purpose.
But that is the thing. I think for me, and I would say this, and I would like you to answer the same question. I think if I ran into an issue where someone was too jealous or demanded me to like disconnect from Tony, I would have to let the relationship go. And I say that because at the end of the day, I think for me, more so for my daughters, I need my daughters to understand, like, I did what was right, or what they say. Like, I got married. Then, I mean, I had a career first. I got married, and then I had kids, and it didn't work out. So I always tell Tony, I'm like, I don't want them to think that there's a right or a wrong way when it comes to how their lives play out, because societal pressure will already have you feeling some type of way that you're not conforming to how they see things.
Right.
I just want my daughters to understand, like, look, if you were in love with that person at that time, y'all got married and y'all had kids, but where's the respect for that person? Respect is the bottom line that makes the connection mutual. And I think because we do have respect for each other, that is what allows us to still have this teamwork or village for the kids. You?
What was your question again?
Oh my goodness, here we go.
No.
I said, if you, whenever you decide whatever your relationships are.
I mean, when it comes to the relationship, I was just playing. When it comes to the relationship, if I ever get into a relationship that specific person is trying to push me to separate from my co-parent, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't put myself in that situation. You know, I mean, if I'm crazy about this person, obviously it's for a reason. It's because of the fact, one of the big facts is that they're willing, they're open for it. They're open to, okay, and they get along with her. You know, they have to be able to get along with her. They have to be able to you know, accept everything that comes with me, and me vice versa. I'm going to be the same way. You know, so if I'm willing to be that way, why not experience and understand what I have on the other side too? So, I mean, if I can't rely on that person to be that for me, then I don't need to be in that relationship. So, I mean, to each his own. We learn from it. I mean, Caleb, you know, we can't do this right now, but maybe down the road, when you grow more, when you understand more, call me. You know, let's do this thing. But until then, it's called maturity. I mean, you have to mature. I mean, everybody matures differently. We all mature differently, but when it comes to our co-parenting and our kids, I said it before, they're the priority. And if we're here doing what we need to do, we handle our business, and we do allow somebody else to come into that and break that apart. That's not a good deal. It's not good for our kids. I mean, we think of them first and foremost, the kids. Okay, how are the kids gonna feel about this? You know, how would they react to this? So it's not. No, Jeff. It's not happening.
So Pete said, can you describe a typical week in Tony and Jessica's co-parenting schedule and how you balance your time with the children? I'm sure retirement helps. Oh my goodness, yes. So retirement does help. With the older two, it's funny because they always used to say, I had no free time. Mommy is always busy. And I do like the fact that we use our schedules to try to make sure we're at everything for the kids. I'll bring up the move to Georgia. So I'm getting ready to teach in Georgia. Tony will still be here in Alabama, but he will be here with Mimi as well. So our biggest balance so far has been trying to make sure, like, can we accommodate the kids' appointments? Because a lot of their stuff is still tied to Alabama, and for him to come over to Georgia for Tide Sports. The thing that I love the most about it is that it's like without a beat, because even when we were signing the kids up for Georgia, they were like, well, who has custody? And we're like, both of us. Like, we're not going to not have that.
Yeah.
And we're not going to invite you to tell us like what we're doing is not. His dad works in Alabama. I work in Georgia. He's going to school over here with us in Georgia.
Right.
Therefore, both parents have the same access as one would.
Right.
But we've even talked about what was best for us. So like I used to have a lot of people, and this is completely transparent. I used to have a lot of people because I'm dating Ava and he resides in San Antonio. They used to be like, oh, you know, when are you coming to San Antonio? You know, you need to make that move. It would be so much easier. But I even had to have a real conversation with Tony to say, you know, because I've had people here in Alabama offer me jobs. They were like, hey, you know, this will keep you back close with your family. But for me, I had to realize like this is the first time in my life that I get to make a decision that does not interfere with my dreams, my goals, and my aspirations. And it's no slight to, you know, I'm not considering Ava, I'm not considering Tony, but I needed to make sure like this was something that I had been yearning to do. Because I'm single, I'm not married, but at the same time, what is best for Jessica, what is best for her children, and what is best with my relationship with Ava. That's how I prioritized my move when I was retiring, because it became overwhelming for me. And even now, I'm very blessed and very grateful that we co-parent the way that we do, to where, what did I do? I told you we calculated up the halfway point between where we're going to drop off the kids when that time comes. But I think that was the best thing, is like at the end of the day, another thing, we have a joint account. So that joint account helps us so much with the money that we put in. Because a lot of people have also asked, like, he has had somebody ask him why he wasn't on child support. And I was just like, first of all, child support is not even necessary from us. I remember when we first talked about it, because obviously it had to go in the divorce decree. And people were like, damn, that's a lot. Because it was what, $1,400? It was $1,400 for 4 kids. And we're like, why? You're an active father. Whatever they need, you provide, and vice versa. Like when I wasn't here, I would, you know, that banking account served as its purpose. And for us, when we wasn't as tight as we were, we always thought about, you know, what if we do get in a position to where we're dating seriously or eventually want to get married? We don't want people to look at it where, you know, how's their proof or documentation? That joint account served as documentation to say, this is how we've been taking care of our kids for so long.
Right.
But yeah. Am I missing something?
I don't think you're missing much.
Okay. But the balance in time, I want you to speak on that aspect of how did you balance the time, because you were by yourself with them when I was away at those assignments.
When it comes to balance and time, I think I'm fortunate because my VA job is mostly remote. You know, I go into work once a week. So that played a big part in it, and I it's a blessing. I thank God for that. That allowed me to work and support the kids' extracurricular activities, all of it. You know, so I mean, I was here when they're sick. You know, up and down, all those situations that came up, I was there, and I mean, the job allowed me to be there. You know, so I mean, I was blessed to have balance easily, you know, and for the most part, the job I do have, my supervisors, they're family women. So when it comes to me and the importance of my family, they understand that. I mean, first and foremost, look, I don't need this job, you know. So I need to support my kids. I need to go and be with them. I need to handle that because I can't get that time back. You know, so I focus more on the time with the children. You know, so my time, my priority, it's them. You know, for me, the job comes second. You know, so with my mindset and that, everything's been fine. It's been years and things have been running smooth because they are the priority, not the job. You know, I'll be okay. I've struggled. You know, I've had situations where, you know, Jessica, I need you to come do this. I need you to come do that. She's been there. What you talking about, Tony? You good? That's what I get from her. You good? All the time. You good? Oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
I be trying to not to psychoanalyze you, but at the same time, I know when you're not yourself.
Right, and vice versa. Vice versa. We the same way. You know, I know when you're going through it, you're not yourself, and you know, we're there for each other in that aspect because I mean, we have to be. We both got to be, you know, somewhat sane when it comes to the monsters in, you know, the room. You know, so.
And you know, that's the crazy part because we would always say like our family would joke and say they got so many kids. And I think that was the joy of it because we're able to see how our sisters and brothers act with us. We just wanted to make sure our kids knew like your sister and brothers y'all are friends first and your family forever. And most of the time, you know, people look outside to get those things when they're in a house, but we wanted to focus so much on making sure that they understand the importance of having that in. And we even talk about like my cousin Courtney, because she's the only child, but we pulled Courtney in because Courtney is like my little sister. So Dana has a question for you, Tony. Mm-hmm. He said, I often hear that men suffer silently, meaning we're not good with self-care or seeking help for mental issues. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. And I was there actually at one time. I mean, like I said, I suffered from PTSD in the military, suffered for a while outside the military, and I had issues with suffering in silence. And honestly, Jessica knew it. I mean, she experienced a lot of issues that I had when we were married. You know, so yes, I wholeheartedly agree that we suffer in silence because of our upbringing. You know, the way that we have to be hard, we have to do this, we have to do that as men, period. I won't say black or white, men, period. We have to be a certain way, and that's I honestly now I don't feel that's true. I don't feel that's true that we have to be a certain way. Traditionally, and who came up with tradition? Who came up with tradition? Who came up with how a man should and should not be? And when it comes to the mental health portion of it, yes, we know that we have to be strong for our family. We know that we have to be there for our family. We know that we have to be protectors and providers. But at the same time, who's to say that our significant other can't be a protector and provider along with us? You know, we're side by side. We're working this thing out together. So why can't we figure that out together? When it comes to suffering in silence, I don't do that anymore. I mean, you're only hurting yourself. You're only hurting yourself when you suffer in silence. It's overwhelming. It can get very overwhelming, and I can honestly say I've lost some people because of their silent suffering. We've lost some people because of their silent suffering. You will never understand that. Okay, I never thought this person would be this way. I never thought this person would do that. But yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Silent suffering in men, I mean, it's a real thing, and it happens constantly, all the time. So, I mean, with us, we have to. I can't say we have to take care of one another. If you have a spouse, if you have a co-parent, believe it or not, that person really wants to be there for you, even if they're mean. And I'm not saying she ain't mean and nothing like that, but she,
I have manners. You can say I'm mean. It's okay.
No, she's not mean at all. But like I said, but that suffering in silence, don't suffer in silence because it's only hurting you and the people that care about you. So go see a physical, what is it?
Psychologist.
Yes,
Psychiatrist.
one of them. See one of those. You know,
Oh,
so
goodness.
she's going up for it, but I wholeheartedly agree. Yes, we do suffer in silence, and we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't at all suffer in silence. If we're still suffering in silence, we choose to, because there are ways out.
And I say I didn't realize like to what degree you were suffering in silence until after we got a divorce. And that's the shocking part, because I was like, yo, like we're better than this. Like, but again, I don't think that ground was set to actually have that conversation, because you felt like you had to be this person for me,
Right.
instead of like what you had to be for yourself first.
Yeah, it took another level of maturity, you know, and when it comes to self-love, self-care, yes, that's a part of it. You know, when you learn to take care of yourself, have self-care, self-love, you will understand that you shouldn't suffer in silence, because that's not a form of it. So yeah,
I do want to go to Aisha's comment. She said, do you want to teach her Tony that? And she was saying, his new wife and I cannot have a conversation, and my husband and their boy is going to be around her a lot. And now we'll be living with them, and it bothers her a lot. And I can attest to you for that, because I remember when we always would say like, hey, before you are with this person, like you feel like you want to be in a relationship with this person, like afford me the opportunity to meet them. And I will admit, like Tony happenstance introduced our kids to someone, and I was upset about it, because I was like, yo, where was that meeting for me to meet this person first before you met the kids? And I did tell him, I was like, yo, I was hurt about that, because I had made sure I set up mine that he could meet before. And like you said, like it bothered me so much to the point I was like, I don't know this person. Like, this person, the kids have met this person, but are they of added value for them? And I will honestly tell you, like, Aisha, it took me a moment, because at first I was like, can I have her number so I can reach out? I said, maybe we can have brunch or lunch somewhere, because I need to know like who is attempting to pour into my kids. And eventually I had got mad with him. I was like, you know what? I don't want to even meet her. I said, I don't care no more. I said, I think you have good judgment. And I just left it at that. I did. I was like, I don't even want to meet her no more. But I do think it is important that you and her, as the two ladies, since he seems to be the issue, I think you should look at, hey, what can we do? These are some things that I expect as a mother towards my kid. And I think those are important for you to share the same values, especially if he's going to be staying there with his dad. And, we always say, like, I will never sit up here and say I can replace what Tony offers our kids, because I think it's so important, because the kids will share one story with him, share another story with me. And here we are over here playing Jenga, trying to figure out like how to build the story up to be one whole story. So we do enjoy that aspect of co-parenting.
Yeah, they like we don't talk.
That's the biggest part. You have to talk with each other. Yeah. And yeah, they act like you don't talk, especially the older two.
Right. Yeah.
So Dale said, what are some of the values you all wanted to instill in your kids at a young age? And has the values remained the same since being separated? Yes. So yes. We always have prided on eating at the table. Like, and as you can see, this son was like the best memories are made around the table. Like, our kids are they're very intelligent, but they very goofy too. And now they get that from you because they play too much. They don't know when to stop.
Right.
They don't know when to stop. They get that from their dad.
Good and bad though.
You're right. So they attested to us. They were like, we cut up outside, like here, like at home. Because when we go outside as a family, we know not to misbehave or cut up. And I'd be like, ain't that some shit? So you act a plump fool here. And then when you get out, you be like, you so prime and proper. And I'd be like, what the hell this kid is? Like, why this kid can't be like this at home? But we understand, like, they want to be their true self, just like us. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, one of the values we learned is like, let's talk to our child. Like, we're not saying like we ain't never go through that phase of like spanking the children, because we did.
Oh yeah.
We spank ass. But
that ass up.
It's all about like, let's have a conversation about what you did. We want to understand your logic behind why you did what you did, to help you understand, like, look, this is a better way to do what you did.
And this is why you're getting this ass whipping. And then, they get explained first. We explain why the ass whipping is coming.
And like now we have the teenage problems with the son, with the phone. If we ever knew the phone was that important, we would have just been like, you don't need it at all.
The phone and the styles of dressing and all that stuff, and the way we talk.
Oh, yes.
Carry ourselves, it's teenage things.
Yep.
For this generation.
So we've been trying to figure out, like, how can we help them like move along and not try to mom and pop us as much as they do. But when stuff do happen, we have to talk each other down, especially like if something happens, because things typically happen between me and the boy and then him and the girls. And especially with the boys, they look at me like, oh, she's not as nurturing. She's not soft. Like, why won't she, like Ty told me I'm not a typical mom, and I'm like, I don't even know what a typical mom definition is.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, I can be nurturing to you, but I need you to understand, like, it was me, Ty, and Taraji. We went to Georgia for one of my VA appointments, and they gave him the check to pay. And he's sitting over here looking at me like, I look that old? Absolutely, sir. In America, you do look that old. So then I came back and I told Tony, I was like, look, this is another example that you need to use to talk to Ty about how he's perceived out here in the world, because it coming from me is not registering, because he thinks I'm always on attack mode. But when his dad is able to talk to him, I think it registers more.
Right. And I think that's very important. I mean, we have to, for my sons, I want to be the example for them. I want to set the tone for them as a father, and as a co-parent, I want to set that example of, okay, son, this is an example. This is a blueprint. I'll be their blueprint for you, and you have all these other outside influences, but I'm letting you know, I'll be this blueprint for you. We had an instance where, our son grew his hair out, and in the way he was portrayed, like Jessica said, wasn't very good. I thought about that for a while. And Jessica was like, Tony's done. We got to get his hair cut off. So me and him had a talk, and I explained it to him. I was like, look, it's how you're perceived. It's nothing against you, Ty, but we already have strikes against us. This doesn't have to be one of them for you. So, we eventually, like, I understand, we got haircut, it's nice and neat and stuff like that, but we are the blueprint for our kids. I want my girls to be able to see a man that, even though we're divorced, that takes care of their mother, that makes sure their mother's good to go. I want my boys to see that as well. You don't have to just leave, you split with somebody. You don't have to go crazy on them. You don't have to be mean to them. I mean, be who you are. Be more mature. Take care of that person, especially if they were in your life for a certain amount of time. So we're the examples. I'm the example for my sons. She's the example for her girls and her sons. So my sons are going to look for a woman like her. Best believe they are. My daughters, they're going to want to be like their mom. They already want to be like their mom. So we have to, right? We have to set the tone. So I'm there for my kids, and she's there for the kids. And that's the way it has to be. Because like I said earlier, I'll go back to it. If you choose pain, your kids are going to experience that pain. They're going to experience that trauma. And our selfishness, our failure to let the past be, and step into peace and not dwell on, and keep that pain and not dwell on it and not step into peace, we choose a path for our kids. So you choosing that pain path for your kids, or you choosing that peace path for your kids? We chose, and that's what we're doing. I mean, you can say it's non-traditional, unorthodox, or whatever, but it's not. It's how we choose it. And in this day and age, non-traditional is normal. That's the normal. It's been normalized, so it's not non-traditional anymore. Traditional, I mean, if you want to talk about it, who's doing traditional these days? What's traditional these days? What is it?
And I'll say it's up to what you want it to be. And I think that was the biggest piece between us, is that you were raised in a church, I was raised in a church, but I think by the time you met me, I had already converted over to Islam. But the mere fact that we still bring our kids up with the understanding of what it means to be spiritual. And this will be the last piece that I'll have to add to Dale's question. We just wanted our kids, number one, to understand, like, be a good human being, especially to others when you're in a position to. So when we moved back here, the babies were rarely still small, but we used to, and this was something that we both had to agree on because we didn't see eye to eye. Like, I wanted to stop putting up the Christmas tree. I wanted to stop buying presents. And we eventually kind of like weaned off of it. But it was Taraji and J. Cole one Christmas.
Brought you back.
We took them to the Montgomery Mall. Yeah. And, during the holiday season, like, Santa Claus is always there. So, like, when we walked in, it was a white Santa Claus. And then in the middle, near the skating rink or whatever, it was a black Santa Claus. So, like, both of them, like, got their head on the swivel. And they're like, hold on, which one of these is real? Ain't now one of them real. And if you all have met Taraji and J. Cole, they're like us right now. So we always say, like, oh, my goodness, like, Mimi was an easy baby. And who was flourishing as a young woman. And now we got Ty coming up. He's with this recruiting agency trying to get into D1. He wants to be out there. And then you have these two who are like two old souls trapped in a little kid's body.
Right.
So it was at that point we were like, yo, why are we putting on this charade when they already know it ain't real? So we had a talk with them, and we started to turn Christmas into more of serving back. So we would serve at the Salvation Army, maybe passing out the toys or going to serve food. But it gave them a sense of purpose, and they like connecting with people. Even when we see the homeless, because a lot of homeless, I think that was our biggest thing as a family, valuing. Like, when you come from humble beginnings, you're like, that's not my job to judge, like, what got you there. And it's not my job to judge if we give. So we started showing them, like, how to make little bags, or we would remember we used to do Dave Ramsey and just get out a lot of money. So yeah, we would get out money, cash, and put it in envelopes, like $5 per envelope. And we would just give it out to the homeless or to people that asked because they were in need. And that's one of the things that we love about our kids. Like, to this day, they'll still see it. They'll be like, hey, you got some money so we can give to that person. So raising them to be like vessels and just teaching them too, like, there are people that are going to attempt to use you, but it's like, what do you do with it?
Right.
And it's been good so far. I'll say, like, when he came to me, because I said, hey, I want to spend the New Year's with the kids and I want them to meet Alva all at once. And Alva came in like a few days before New Year's this year. And then they were able to go out. They hung out and had cigars together. And that was when I knew, I was like, okay, this is, because I dated Alva under the radar for like a little over a year. But I did tell Tony, I was like, hey, I'm dating someone that we were stationed with. And that was the biggest piece for us. I'm just like, hey, what was your relationship with Alva when we was in Japan? And then, like, he made me laugh because why? What did you say? You were like, he was a good dude. All I remember was us cooking for Black History much.
Right, yeah.
And then it kind of went from there, and I was like, okay, cool. Y'all never hung out. Y'all never like did nothing, and I did the same. I was like, I never hung out with his ex, so I was like, I think we're good. But just navigating those things were very different for us.
And regardless of that, piggyback on what she said, regardless of that, and this is just me, I honestly you can't choose who you care about or who you begin to care about more or who you love. So regardless of me knowing him and knowing who he was, I don't feel bad. I'm not pissed off about anything because, I mean, you can't choose that. That's something that you can't, okay, well, why you doing this? You know we this, you know we that. I'm like, okay, that's your life. That's what you choose. That's up to you. You know, that's up to that person. So I honestly, I am not that type of person. So I can't sit here and you can't control somebody else. You can only control you. You know, you can only control your feelings, your decision making and stuff like that. So I would choose, okay, again, my kids and my relationship with my co-parent over who they're with, who they love, who they're dating. That is entirely up to her, you know, and that's how I see it. I'm like, okay, we are on this level, you know, and it's two different lanes. You know, y'all may be on the same level, but it's in two different lanes, you know? So that's how we have to look at it. We're not on the same lane. We may be on the same level, but we're not in the same lane.
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying.
And that goes back to like being beneficial and being added value in my life. I remember I had to have surgery, and I had surgery in November, like right before Thanksgiving. And it was here, obviously, because I couldn't stay in Florida. And I think Alva had a TDY. So I asked Tony to like, hey, can I come up here and recoup while I have my surgery? And he was like, yeah, you get to spend time with the kids. I was like, okay, bet. The day that I was having my surgery and before they took me back, Tony was like, you want me to call Alva? And I looked, I was like, you ain't got his number. But he ended up calling him because he had him on Facebook. And again, that is what I mean by the type of relationship that we have. It is more of added value. I can't emphasize that enough. Even when we get to the points where we do have disagreements and we ask for time out, we're like, look, let's just take a time out from this. We don't need to talk about it right now. I need a little space just to clear it out. Or he knows, like I
know. I mean, this is my best friend. So we know. You know, when okay, let me step back and get it time. You know, so that's what I do. I mean,
because I'm not accustomed to like when I know I'm like, yo, I need to process this for a moment. Like, let me just think about it. And then Tony be up here like, I ain't no punk. Like, what you want to talk about? I'm like, if you don't get up out my face, like I just asked you for a time out. And that's the part like I enjoy, because some people be like, oh, Tony's so cool, calm, collected, pretty Ricky, pretty Tony. And I be like, okay. It's like, he ain't no punk. He be sitting up here like, you call me a pistol starter. You are one as well, sir.
But it takes a minute.
Okay.
I'm cool. It takes a minute.
So Dana said, what advice can you give to us and folks across the board regarding the negativity behind the terms baby daddy and baby mama? How do we change that narrative? So we used to always talk about the terminology. So like for us, we both felt some type of way when we say ex-wife, ex-husband. So he was like, can you please stop calling me that? And I was like, you're right. And then that's when we transformed into the co-parent aspect, because that is technically what you are in my life right now. Like, you are the co-parent, you are a great friend. And it's like, the negativity behind baby mama and baby daddy, and I told him when we were talking about terms, it made me straight up think about that Tyler Perry movie when she was like, Byron. I was like, oh no, baby, like we're not for to do that. Like, and I look at, for me, this is Jessica. Baby daddy is to where I'm not gonna sit up there and say like, there was no loss. So like we just had a one night stand and that's how we got here, or like we constantly was on and off and that's how we got kids. No, like we actually have kids. The kids are here, and what are we doing to make sure that they're good? That's why we do not use the words baby daddy, baby mama. We don't like it at all, because of the negativity that comes with it. I think baby daddy is so disrespectful to a man that's trying to be a dad. And a lot of people, like people always say for women, because I'm a girl, I'm gonna say it's like, are you dad hurt? Is that why you use certain terms? Or, you know, for a young man, like, are you hurt by what your dad or your mom didn't do for you? I think for every time a person has a child, that is your opportunity to pour into the child what you didn't have. And I'm not talking about materialistic things. I'm talking about what we just talked about, values and traditions. Because one piece for me was pivotal, that I was raised by my grandparents by the tail end. One thing that I love is being able to be a mom. I love to be a mom so much. I was telling him, and this was before I started dating Alva and I was single. I was telling Tony, I was like, look, I may retire and adopt a kid. He was like, fool, why would you start? He was like, fool, why would you start all the way back over? He said, did you not realize what we got? And I was like, touche. But I just felt like, man, being in the military for so long, always caring for everybody else.
Right.
I just wanted a big family. Like, I see how our kids operate with each other. I just love how they are. Like, that is the best part for me as a parent, is like when you get to see your offspring and how they act with each other and how they problem solve. Even, and I was telling to Roger, she was like, why did you just call me a military brat? I said, look, the lady asked, I said, that's what they call military kids. But I said, don't take the word brat as disrespect. But I do enjoy that fact that we get to make the kids have a happy, healthy home.
Right.
And we always said, like, there was a part before we got a divorce where it was just two people being roommates and we were miserable. Mm-hmm. But to see how we are now, plan family trips, or just make sure, like, hey, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Are you okay? Do you have anything planned during this time frame?
Right. Yeah.
So Omar said, look at Willis talking about my Pete.
What up, bro?
Well, Omar said, I respect the hell out of y'all. This is what being grown means. When you said cigars, I knew it was adults. Questions, how do the kids feel about all the dynamics? So initially, that's a good question, Omar, because at first the kids were like, we would always talk about it. Mm-hmm. Like, we always talked about, you know, we want our kids to show unity, as far as kind of like how the first row of my retirement ceremony was. I was like, Alba can be on the side with me. It could be Alba, me, the kids, Tony, his significant other. That's how we all said we would roll. We want our kids to be able to see that you can, again, I don't have to be married to him. I don't have to hate him. Even when it comes to planning family trips, I was like, look, I would like what we were talking about, taking the kids to Disney on a Disney cruise. Mm-hmm. So I was like, it could be, I said, Alba could come with us. And then you were like, yeah, depending on, you know, what I got going on, does that time frame work? That is what we need our kids to see, the dynamics of us all co-mingling, co-parenting together. Right. Even the oldest. So Mimi went out to her boyfriend's BMT graduation earlier this year. Yeah. It was earlier this year, and she went out there with his family, and she ended up linking up with Alva. And this was after they had saw each other for New Year's. But the mere fact that she was able to call Alva to let him know that she was there, and then he went and attended the graduation with them, like, that made our heart full, because he even told him, he was like, man, he said it's dope that Alva was able to go there and be there with them while Melvin was graduating from BMT.
Jealous.
Yeah, he talking about he was jealous. Same thing. Even now, like I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this. Like I gotta go to. I'm going to San Antonio in August, but it's around an event that Alba has. But it's also the weekend for Tony's birthday. But that is what we mean by respect. He's like, look, I can celebrate the weekend before or the weekend after. He was like, I just need to make sure that you're good. And I think that's the piece that people don't see.
It's just another day. Ain't nothing.
Yeah, but we're gonna make sure you you get to celebrate your birthday. I know. But yeah.
Yeah. Good.
What would you say the kids' dynamics are?
Our dynamics or the kids' dynamics?
The kids. How do the kids feel about all the dynamics?
I mean, I think our kids they didn't miss a step. Our kids, we got to keep up with their dynamics, actually. I mean, we have ours, they have theirs, but I don't think they are missing anything because, like I said, we chose peace and we chose to be ourselves, what they've always seen, even better now. So when it comes to the kids, I mean, they're good. They're good. The dynamics between us and them, and even with Alva, it's all good. Them little ones and Alva.
Remember, yeah. So like I told Tony, I said, and I told Alva I was gonna mention this, but it was so funny. The first time Alva met any of the kids was Taraji. And I told Tony, he was like, you sure? Because he was like, you know how she is. And I was like, yeah. So like we ended up going to the beach and Alva was there for a TDY. And he hurt his foot from working out. And he was kind of limping. But before that, Taraji and him were talking about something. And I think he was trying to tell her don't go too far in the water without her life jacket on. And Taraji was like, you ain't my dad. And I had to text Tony. I was like, yo, this is like some Tyler Perry shit. Like, I can't believe she just said this. Tony was like, I'll talk to her, when y'all get back to the house. So Alva went to the restroom after she did what she did. And then when he was trying to walk back, she looked at me and she was like, Mr. Ben is hurt. I'm gonna go get him. I'm gonna help him walk back over here. So then I had took a picture of them and I had told Tony, I said, well, I guess she's okay. I said, you may not have to talk to her when you get back to the house. Mm-hmm. But it was that moment. I'm like, yo, if Alva can survive Taraji, I think he'll be good with the rest of the kids. And I say that because anybody that knows us, Taraji acts like me right now. So I'm trying to help her hone who she is as a 9-year-old and let her realize, like, look, baby girl, like you have a lot of my mannerisms right now, but just take your time so that when you are older, like she'll be, I said, all of them are going to be better than us. And I think that's the piece that inspires them as well, because they look at us and be like, y'all are so amazing. Y'all do this, y'all do that. But the key word is every time we say like, y'all going to be better than us, I think that enlightens, just ignites their fire a little bit more.
Right. I think they are.
Hey, Keisha. Hey, T.
Girl. Look, I think with them being military kids, military brats, adaptable. They are high. They can adapt to anything. I mean, with the dynamics you talk about, heads on swivels, like Taraji. In that instance, I mean, yeah, she gonna say what she gonna say, but at the same time, she sees something, she gonna be like, I go over here. I'm going over here. But they are highly adaptable.
And they love Alva. Sometimes I tell Tony, like, I'll sit up here, like, for my retirement. And when we were dropping off stuff back here at the house after the retirement party. And then I got out of the car thinking that they were going to give me a hug. And Alva and Tony were talking in the garage. They run up to him. And I'm just like, yo, like, I'm your mom. Like, I'm chopped liver now.
Chopped liver.
But yeah, the kids, especially the smaller kids, because they're still growing, and the older too, they love the dynamics that we currently have.
You have to understand, those dynamics will only take place if the maturity level is right. You have to be mature enough to understand the priority and why you're doing it. It can't be selfish. It can't be for selfish reasons.
And I will say, I think that is our biggest flex. Like, we were able to navigate this without talking about each other. Like, we never talked bad about each other to our kids. And I would say, like, when you invite kids into those grown folks conversations, that is what muddies the water.
Right.
Because whatever I'm dealing with Tony, Mimi, Taraji, Ty, or J. Cole should never know my raw or intimate feelings of what I'm experiencing with their dad. Not saying that it's, we're showing them false, but I got to make sure, like, whatever I'm shifting out is not pushed to them. Like,
Right.
most recently, we keep going back and forth. We're trying to determine, like, when is the best day to move them down to Georgia. We don't do that in front of them because there's no need for them. Like, they'll come and ask us and we'll both say before school starts.
Yeah, you
'Cause-
let them kids keep their energy.
Yep.
We have our energy, they have theirs.
But yeah, when we talk about things that involve them and we're still not sure about it, we'll come up with a collective answer to satisfy their urge to be repetitive, because that's what they are. But yeah, until we work out the kinks, that's when we'll sit down with them and talk to them about it. And Omar, as far as discipline, we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, but we will say, like, discipline is something that we both talk about. Like, sometimes because they have been here with him, he'll handle it and then he'll back brief me and tell me, like, this is what he did, or more so like the measurement, because, oh my God, we'll say the hair with Ty. So the hair with Ty was more of like a compromise. When we said we use schedules for everything, we use schedules for everything. So it was more so Ty and Mimi would be responsible for washing the dishes on certain days and cleaning the bathrooms on certain days. And they would have the two younger ones. They would pick whoever they're going to help. Like 9 times out of 10, J. Cole would help Mimi because he loves her personality, because they're honestly the same. And then the 2 middle kids would always do theirs together. But Ty is one. He's a very smart kid, but Ty is one of those kids that he couldn't talk. They tried to say that he was delayed developmentally. So when we was in Holloman Air Force Base, it was this place called Zia Therapy Center. So we took him there to daycare instead of taking him on base, and they taught him how to sign and then put him in speech therapy. So, by the time we went to Japan, like, he started talking and he was much better. Fast forward, about 6th or 7th grade, we put him in debate. Oh yeah, we wanted him to learn how to communicate effectively.
But he already knew it. And
Yeah, he already wanted
perfected craft.
He just didn't want to. So now he's a great debater.
Right.
So he will find what he wants or what he aspires to be, and he will debate the hell out of it. To the point to, like, even the hair, it's funny because we watch our friends do the same thing with their kids. Like, I think the Duns, they did something, but it's so crazy watching how all of us collectively have the same skill sets that we use with our kids. Long story short, so he encouraged us to let him grow his hair out, but he started slacking on his other chores, like when it comes to washing the dishes. So I found that he was on the phone late at night. So I told Tony, I was like, look, I'm about to start putting restrictions on the phone. It's going to have downtime. And he's the type of person, he likes to wear us down. So like when the downtime, I think I put it at like 11 o'clock, and he'll start sending like more time. I say, you can more time over there at that sink and start washing those dishes. Because what was happening was he would go to sleep and then dishes be left in the sink. And I was like, me and your dad both country, baby. What we not going to do is wake up to a dirty kitchen. You're going to clean that kitchen before you go to bed. I don't care what you're doing. But now he's learning to like compromise with us and understand, because he'll say like, this is what he'll tell me. He was like, you've been gone. I've matured. You just don't see me. And I was like, Jessica, shut up. Just look, observe. And whatever I had an issue with, I would just start telling Tony. Yeah. And Tony was like, you know what? It is good to have you back, because you get to see things that I didn't see because I'm so far in it. And I said, look, I'm not trying to change what you have done, but you got to allow me to provide feedback, because y'all have been doing it like a certain way for so long. Hey, girl. But now it's like, hey, allow me to be part of the team and help lift your load, because it looks heavy and it was heavy.
Oh yeah, back broke.
Here we go. All right. So now you all, we appreciate the comments and the feedback. Again, this was just one segment. We will break this off into 3 segments. This was the first one. We will figure out, you got more words to use. Don't be like that. You a singer. You okay? We will figure out how to get all of this back in the future. But we really appreciate all the questions. We appreciate you all tuning in, and also acknowledging that this is different. We really appreciate the positivity that you all have offered us. And last but not least, to the unpopular celebrity. I promise you, I'm not drinking over here.
Yes, she is.
Just water, whatever. I'm recovering from vacation. If y'all know, like, thank you, co-parent, for allowing me to take a few days to take this trip and immerse myself into like civilian life and relax. I know Joanna and I have to take a trip because she's getting ready to retire. Thank you very much. But peace out, y'all. It's been real. And if y'all need anything, we're always a message available. Aisha is always good, sweetie. And guess what? Happy belated birthday to you.